This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Monday, March 2nd, 2020, episode 268. Monday. Welcome to Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Check out my gab at Nick. Visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. It's also Monday in the great state of, not Idaho, Idaho. Hey, you're muted.
Oh yeah. Now I try to always mute myself during your intro because
I mute you, but I keep you muted.
Oh, okay. Well, I always mute myself just in case.
Struggling from the coronavirus, Brian
yes.
Brian
it hit Seattle, and somebody must have driven here and infected Idaho as well because I've been sick for the last 2 days.
Brian, who put the I in coronavirus.
Yes, is there?
Yeah, the virus
that
part.
Works.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, the I in virus. Yes.
Yeah, the I in coronavirus. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Well, if you want to go check out my my Twitter before I pass,
who gets your Twitter? Who gets your Twitter? This is the important question.
Oh yeah, who do I pass my? I'll give you
or
the
your
password for
Patreon.
my Twitter.
What about your Patreon? Do I get to take that over too?
I guess if I die, you could have my Patreon too, but you're gonna have to do something to upkeep it.
Well, I'm one of the subscribers. I'm already doing stuff.
True.
Paying this is a long con. And you think investing in the stock market is good? Investing in Brian's Patreon and then him dying of the coronavirus. That's a big brain move right there.
Yes. Well, if you want to find me, of course, at Boise Computer on Twitter, my blog, biteoftech.com, and make sure you go check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. You notice on the right-hand side there, if you join our server on Discord, that's a place you can submit news throughout the week. You can go through and participate in the game of the week. Also, we have a lot of people in there that have been playing Ark because we'll be talking some about the recent DLC that they put out and playing Tarkov and all kinds of games throughout the week. So if you're interested in any of those, make sure you join. It's got a mobile app, it's got a web-based app, and desktop app. It's really easy to use. If you want a notification before the live show, just like today, we're doing it on a Monday, not a normal day. But if you happen to be at your computer and you have Steam open, you would have gotten a notification if you're part of our Steam group. So if you're interested in that, make sure you click that button and join our group on Steam. We have links to our Twitch, our Mixer. We have links to our YouTube as well. And then our audio only forums in the lower right. So any device that you happen to be on, we most likely will have an app that will work with that. So go ahead and click one of those and find the one that will work for you. And you can listen to our audio after the fact. Also, we'll have show notes for now 268 episodes of the show. So if you want to go on there, maybe there's a video that we showed and you're listening and you'd like to go see it, or there's something that we showed, you can go click on any of the different links that are on the show notes and be able to follow along during the recording of the show if you'd like to. So if you want to support us financially, we'll be talking about packs in the next couple of months and different things. So if you want to help contribute towards that, one way you can do it is if you're going to buy anything on Amazon, just go to amazon.infectionpodcast.com. If you're going to be doing any Humble Bundle purchases, make sure you go to humble.infectionpodcast.com. And of course, we get most of our funds is from Twitch Prime and on Twitch. And so if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can just link it to your Twitch account and give us your Twitch Primes every month. We have people that now for over 2 years straight have been giving us their Twitch Primes every month. And we really appreciate that because that pretty much pays for packs all by itself. So it's very good that people help us in that way.
Yes. And I want to thank our friend Firebomb who hit us up with the 10-month resubscription here on Twitch. Firebomb, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And our friend Unicorn Joe, who also hit us up with the 25-month resubscription on Twitch as well. So yes. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. And everybody else that supports us, either with news or showing up for Game of the Week or anything else. Speaking of
one thing I wanted to mention really quick.
Yes,
Sorry,
sir.
One thing I want to mention really quick. Humble Bundle right now is doing a VR bundle.
Oh,
so
really?
Sometimes it's kind of hard to find good VR ones. And one that I was actually watching, a YouTube video of people playing it, was that Super Hot VR. It looked like it was a lot of fun on VR, and they have Moss on there, just a number of games. So if you have the VR set, This would be a really good way. They have it, it's Windows, and then they show the different devices, Oculus Rift, the HTC Vive, and then pretty much you can redeem these on Steam. So
yeah, it's a pretty good price.
Yeah, I mean, to get however many, 6 or 7 or 8 VR games, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I don't have a VR headset, so of course I'm not going to get it. Knowing me, I had to resist a little bit, but I did do it. Just in case.
Let's see. Redeemable for a month of Planet Fitness. Thank you, Locklar. we appreciate that for the resubscription. So maybe that's a little bit of our pre-show conversation, which if you're joining us here on a Monday, as I've said a couple of times now, you would have got that notification on our Twitter and our Discord. So that's a great way to keep up with the show. We won't spam you on either of those platforms. We at everyone once a week for Infection, and we tweet a couple times a week around the show. So hopefully you'll join us on those platforms as well. All right. Game of the week.
We had somebody who has been, I think, Judd, he's been recording our pre and post shows.
Oh yeah.
Putting them on a YouTube channel.
I forgot about that. The link, it's called something like Infection Outtakes or something. Let me see if I can find it. I saw it the other day.
Or like Infection After Hours or something. But
it's like,
and it's because people that are here for the live show, they claim that our pre and post show are better than the actual show. And those are the things that we don't record.
Yeah,
so
it's called
we have somebody
Infection Podcast Extras, and there are the last 2 post shows are on. It's a snazzy little page here. A channel for the Infection Podcast post show and other related videos from the show. so Judd is all in. We'll post a link to this in the show notes. So yes, appreciate Judd for doing that. It'll be interesting to see how long he keeps this.
We'll see if he starts getting more viewers than we do on our recordings. Then
wouldn't that be something?
No, we'll quit doing the actual show. Let's do a pre-post show and be out.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, show's done.
Post show. Okay, it's in the show notes now. The link will be on our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Okay. Game of the week. We played Ylands, also spelled as the letter Y, lands. We had 4 of us, and Brian, it wasn't a bad experience. We played for about an hour. But after about an hour, there seemed to be a lack of, not things to do, a lack of direction. So you load the game up, and there are a whole bunch of mini games, I guess is what you call it, similar to Gary's Mod. You load up Gary's Mod, you can jump into a world, or you can join a list of servers. The server browser is very convoluted. If you want to host a server, I believe you have to pay for it. So even if you want to play with your friends, you have to use like their in-game currency to do that. So that was a little annoying. A couple of the games, like we tried playing mini golf, that sucked. Was not good at all. We played like a city snowball shooter thing. That was a lot of fun for the 20 minutes. And we did a couple of other missions and quests, and they were all right, but I didn't have any interest. Like 5 minutes in, I was like, okay, this is just lame.
So let me give a little bit of a caution, I guess. One thing is the main game, that's the paid for version. So you guys didn't actually get to try the survival aspect of it, the open world part. And that's the part that I played before. I never really played the mini games or all that and did all the thing where you can build your own type of modded things. But the game, where the actual game itself, that's the paid for version, is the part that I find the most fun. And you guys didn't get to experience that. And that's what was, if you had the game prior to it going free to play, they then gave you a copy with the, that feature included. So that's just kind of a thing to let people know this is something different than what the actual game is.
Yeah, and part of like the frustration was we went to like the featured game list. I guess you'd call it some sort of curated game list. And I want to say like 3 rows down there was a game called like something Racers. And we joined it. And the description said there are no cars yet in the game. You have to take this map into like your own workshop and add your own cars.
Yeah,
that was like a featured game. And
one thing, so why wasn't there prop
odd.
hunt?
Why wasn't there anything?
Prop hunt.
No, I didn't see it either.
I mean, there was, but the thing is like that. What would be perfect for someone who's interested in kind of just testing out? Try making prop hunt.
Prop hunt's a lot of fun.
I mean, that'd be a good way to kind of test the mechanics, test the coding, the little language they use, and just see how hard it is. Make a simple version of prop hunt where, because you just take assets in the game, you let people be them. You know, if you shoot one of the people, you know, they die. I think that would be an interesting way to kind of test the game. I didn't see prop hunt. Usually you see prop hunts in these type of games.
Yeah. So the mechanics of the game seemed relatively strong. It ran smooth. It wasn't glitchy or buggy at all. There just seemed to be a real lack of content. And I think that would explain why we looked at, was it last week? There were 700 people in the game or something like that. Yeah. I think that explains it. I mean, what we played for an hour and everybody, everybody said, hey, like, we're done. Like, it was kind of a unanimous decision. Like, okay, there's really nothing else to do here.
We went into their kind of organized area and there was so little. Well, first of all, it was very difficult to get in the same one. But it was kind of an area where there's just a bunch of areas you can walk to and it kind of queues you for various games.
It's like an MMO hub.
Yeah, it was like an MMO hub. But the problem is there was very little direction or like, hey, this is taking you here, doing this. It had a whole thing where you could level up and do all these objectives, but that was very unclear. So I think they could make that much better and make a better grouping system to where we could have just made our own little group and start queuing into things easily.
Yeah.
But I think the core is there. It's whether or not people ever kind of pick it up and go with it.
Yeah, I just don't. I just don't see it. Yeah. I don't think there's not a big enough user base for a game like this.
Yeah.
Gary's Mod's got a very it's got a very long in terms of time dedication. Okay, I'm butchering that big time. It's got a dedicated community that has been invested for a very long time, is what I'm trying to say. And if you don't have that, a game like this doesn't succeed. And I don't see this game gaining that long-standing history of users that will constantly come back. Because, I mean, if you look at Gary's Mod itself, the base game sucks. The issue is the game itself sucks. The reason it's good is because people, aka developers, modders, whatever, have come in and said, hey, let's develop this, let's develop that, let's make this Lewis script, let's make that Lewis script. And not that Gary's Mod, the engine itself is atrocious, but it's not a good game by itself. Modders have to do. Same thing with Arma. Arma's an alright game. The base game kind of sucks. DayZ's kind of the same way too, apparently. DayZ kind of blows. You got to play a modded server. But you got to have a user base to do that. And I don't think Ylands is ever going to have that user base, personally.
Yeah. And I mean, it'd be interesting if it kind of picked up a little bit. But I think they probably should have looked a little more at the model of how they did it. For instance, they made the kind of open world survival the paid part, which, I mean, that's the more fun, but people aren't going to see that. Like, people aren't going to realize that, okay, that's really fun, I need to try this. They see these other pieces. I think they almost should have done maybe kind of like what Unturned did, and have maybe a skin pack or something that you get that's a bonus that then is added in the game and gives you some extra assets that you can use that aren't there necessary, but they're neat or nice, and then make the whole game free to play so that people can access the survival aspects, the open world part, and do all those mini games. And then people can pitch money at it if they're really into it. But I just don't know how many people are actually going to pitch money in to do the other piece, because that just doesn't seem like it'd be the more fun part, but it is.
I mean, I wouldn't spend $1.
Yeah.
Based on what? based on what I played on Friday night. But that's why we play Game of the Week. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You can't make an honest opinion of something, even just playing it once. But I mean, at least my opinion of the game was not very high. I don't think even though it's free, I don't think I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you do.
I mean,
honestly,
yeah.
I mean, after an hour, we were at a loss. We had played the couple of interesting game modes that seemed interesting, and that was it.
I mean, they really almost have to have their development team just make some really cool kind of mods for it to give people an idea with the right skill set. Like, what can you make?
Well, they do have.
I don't feel like
the mini golf was made by them, and it sucked.
Yeah, that was horrible. I mean, that was the part where
one golfer at a time. So you had 4 people, and you had to sit there and it wasn't like regular golf where you shoot, you stroke, and then the next person goes. You had to hit all the way to the hole before the next person could go. So
every group is sitting there waiting. So the last person's going to be sitting there for a long time.
Yeah. So, which is, first of all, that's not even how any sort of mini golf or regular golf is played. And it makes it damn near impossible. What are you going to sit there and twiddle your thumbs for 25 minutes to hit the ball 3 times? I mean, that's freaking stupid.
Yeah. So
lackluster, but not surprising, I guess, based on what we saw with the numbers. So that's Ylands. No, and Firebomb says, sounds like it wasn't that great of an experience. It wasn't. Now, it's a free game, so I got what I paid for. If I had paid for the game, I would be pissed that I had paid for it. But for a free game, what can I say? I lost an hour of my I spent an hour of my time playing it. I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the most horrible game, but it's just, it could have been a better, experience if they would have, if they polished it a little bit more and kind of gave you a presentation of here's our premier game modes. Try those. These ones work the best. Here's ones that are community made.
The shooting
everything was
awesome.
Mixed together. Yeah,
there was this one that was in like a city. It was in like a town square, a snowy map, and you were shooting. It was one-shot kills on people. That was a lot of fun. We had a good time with that. There was a couple randoms in there. But even that, how long is that fun for?
Yeah.
10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but it did show you what was possible.
Yeah. There was kill cams and everything.
Willing to program it like that. You can do a lot with it. It's just they need to get people to go in there that have a little bit of skill in making something. Just like all the people that have gone into, as you said, Arma, and have gone into these various games that do allow this. There's a Gary's mod. You get enough people in there, they'll make some cool modes that'll then make the title. But I don't think they've gotten enough people to go in there and do that yet. Here's
a hot take, and I want to get your thoughts on this. If they were to do some sort of community curation thing where they would pay people, I'm not talking about
or some sort of a reward, like have it to where
I wouldn't even say reward. I mean, why don't you have a contest? Hey, whoever makes the best, we're going to do a mod contest or game mode contest. Top 3 game modes, all, $40, $80, and $200 or something. I mean, you're talking like for a studio less than $400, you can get potentially 3, and if not more, the games below top 3 could also be good. They're just not top 3. And have the community vote on it. And for $300, $400, you've got 3 ideally brand new game modes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the studio's financial state is, but it seems like to me, Brian, you could task your community for a whole hell of a lot less than you could pay a developer to sit there and make it and probably get a better product. Because
I mean, it's Bohemia, so they really should.
Oh yeah, it is Bohemia. They've got plenty of freaking money. What the hell am I thinking? Yeah, no, they've got plenty of money. I mean, shit, they could throw down $1,000. Say, hey, make 500, 200, or 500, 300, and or 350 and 150. I mean, they could do something. You could make a couple bucks making mods.
Yeah. One thing, like Neophyte mentioned, why don't they turn off collision and let everybody go at once? I mean, why don't you just make it to where the balls are transparent almost, so you can see where the other people in your team are?
That's what every other game does.
Yeah, let everybody play it once so that you get it done quickly and it'd be fun. Like, oh, hey, I did a better hit than you. It would make it a ton more fun.
And even the mechanic of golfing sucked. It was like A and D to move the little arrow
Yeah,
thing
they didn't even
left
use
and
the
right.
mouse.
R was to go power up. C was to go power down, and then E or T was swing. It was besides the not being able to shoot more than one golf ball at a time, the controls were garbage. I mean, it was so, and it broke for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't even go. Like, I had to exit the game. I had to kill it just to even get out of it because it wouldn't let me continue golfing. It's more like they had one of their developers and they said, "Hey, we want you to make a golf game by this afternoon."
Yeah,
make it.
Well, Brian,
okay,
you live and you learn. That's the moral of the story. Yes. So we did it. That's Ylands, Ylands. What else? Anything? Any other notes of Ylands?
No, I'm just going to recap. If you're interested in Ylands, maybe catch some videos of people playing it on the actual survival mode, because that is what Ylands really is, the part that's paid. And see if you're interested in that style of game, go look at how that's being played, because that's the one that has progression and actually it's actually like a real game. So,
gotcha. All right.
I think they're just hoping that people will pick up and start making things and kind of add to the allure of the game, but people aren't really doing it yet.
That's hard. Yeah, that's going to be quite a hard hill to climb if I had to guess. Speaking, Brian, now we joked in the opening segment about the coronavirus as the sensation that is sweeping the world, and it's having pretty big effects all over the place, including a conference that we almost went to this year. Thank God we didn't book this. GDC, the annual Game Developers Conference, has postponed to soon TM sometime in the summer. And they postponed this like a week before they were supposed to do this. It started. Which is
pretty crazy. You got to think all the people that booked, all the different Airbnbs and hotel rooms and plane tickets for attendees, all craziness.
Yeah. So, Epic, AWS, Unreal, Facebook Gaming, Unity, Sony, Microsoft. Those are all the groups that said that hey, we're not going due to the coronavirus. Now, to be fair, GDC I would say GDC is more of a international event than something like PAX is. Because a lot of these studios have very large offices overseas, and obviously once all the developers pull out, it's hard to put on a show. I know there was
a lot of people from Japan, China, all these different hardware manufacturers from China. All those people would not have been attending. And that's a big hit for GDC.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're going to do. They're doing full ticket refunds. Speakers invited to submit their talks for them to be distributed free online. Okay, so they'll do that. They're going to do some streaming events online, and it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do in terms of the time for this, because you've got E3 in June or July. You've got PAX and Gamescom back to back in August.
Mm-hmm.
When are you going to do GDC? Because not for just the people that show up, but you got to remember these companies are going to spend. Everybody goes to Gamescom. Everybody. Yeah. It's like, from what we were told last year at PAX from one of the developers, imagine PAX times 5. That's Gamescom. Yeah. So anybody who's doing anything video game wise is at Gamescom, except for us. So that's a huge event, and companies spend big bucks to go to that. Yeah. And then PAX is right after. Companies spend a lot of money to be there. And then E3. Now, some of the bigger boys have pulled out of E3. So I don't know what I mean.
Yeah, Sony's not going to E3. I mean, there's some big names that are not going to E3.
Yeah. So the GDC says they fully intend to host GDC later in the summer. I can't imagine rescheduling a convention like this is a very cost-effective thing to do. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen. I think that might just be lip service to get people to not freak out.
Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
You can't plan,
especially if they're going to delay it.
And you can't plan an event like that in 4 months. Maybe you can, but
well, it's a big cost in planning for each of the attendees, the exhibitors, everything. I mean, it's a big thing that needs months and months of planning. And if you just say, "Oh, we'll tell you," and give you a month to figure it out, that just doesn't work.
Yeah. So interesting to see that that's going on. Obviously, PAX East is going on right now, and that is obviously a similar event. I believe there was talks of Sony backing out of PAX East. I don't know if they officially did that or not. I know that the mayor of Boston kind of pleaded Sony. Actually, no, Sony did pull out. So PAX East is on, but Sony is not there, which is interesting. And Facebook also dropped out of PAX East. So interesting to see how that's going to go down, and the effect that this coronavirus is going to have on the technology sector in the I watched a video from Linus Tech Tips earlier this week about if you're going to buy a computer, you need to buy it now, because over the next 6 to 12 months, due to the manufacturing delays that were just experienced, PC prices are likely going to shoot through the roof for components, RAM, GPUs, CPUs, whatever it may be, because there was you had a period of time in which a lot of these Chinese factories stopped working for days. And you may think, oh, that's not hard. You got to remember a lot of these places are working 24 hours a day around the clock and are still behind. So throw 2 weeks of no work or very low production into that, and you're going to see you'll see a massive shortage, which will in turn cause the price to spike. That's supply and demand. So it'll be interesting to see
I think that'll be, and I was actually thinking about that. I mean, it's going to start to play out, and a lot of the things that we rely on, it's going to be interesting to see what starts to change, what things start to spike as far as pricing, what things just are in shortage.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's what you have to keep an eye on. So, not saying that you need to, not that you need to go run out and buy up every 2080 Ti that you can get your hands on or anything like that. But if you are on the fence about building a new computer, which I kind of am, but I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger, it makes a lot of sense to probably just build it now.
Yeah, and that's where I'm looking at buying, and that's why I'll have to think about that over the next week and decide if I want to at least order a CPU and get it here.
Yeah, and that's an opportunity as well to just purchase it and hold on to it.
Yep. All right. One other thing, there was something kind of related. It was coronavirus kind of linked. There was actually a game that was removed from the App Store and Steam this past week, Plague, which is a board game. There's a Pandemic, is a similar game. But Plague is kind of a PC game version of Pandemic in a way.
Pandemic's a good
I don't know if you could. Yeah, it's a very good game. Plague is a fun game. I have it on mobile. But if you could play, so this is the
you build the virus.
Yeah, so this is their official trailer, right?
Yeah, the whole goal is to infect the world with the virus.
All right, so here in a second, I'm going to have you pause this here in just a second.
Okay.
Once it's about 30 something seconds. So if you notice, okay, look at if you click, go back to that really quick. You can see, actually that's fine. If you look at that versus the map, pull up the image in the notes.
Okay, hold on.
And it's interesting. Here's why they pulled it. If you look, like the way that the virus works in their 2014 trailer, it's very similar to what's actually happened in China.
Well, okay. To be fair, you look at population centers. For example, if you were to think about a virus outbreak in the United States, what would be the first cities that come to your mind? LA, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Seattle. No, I mean, obviously it's not funny. It is kind of funny to look at like, oh, look at this. But, there's only, you pick any big population center, Des Moines, Iowa. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Phantom. All the hotbeds, Boise, Idaho. Sioux City. I mean, all the hotbeds, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just these places are just, pinpoint on the map for virus outbreaks. Birmingham, Alabama.
But this is just China's freaked out. And so they have pulled it. The company has said, and here I'm kind of proud of the company Plague, or the company that makes Plague.
Yeah. So what are they doing?
They said we're not doing anything. We're not changing our game for them. Like the game is the game. He'll work with them we'll work with China to find a resolution, but they're not going to change their base game. There, unlike Australia, and all these games that get, Australia comes down and says, oh, you can't have any drug in the game. You can't have any whatever. They said, we're not changing the base game that everybody has, but we'll see if we can work out with China so that they can actually, the people that have owned this in China can actually play it. I don't know, maybe China could use this. They could have this as their, to see what's going to happen. They seem to have no clue.
I don't know anything about these guys. But I'm glad that they got a pair of balls and are willing to stand, not stand up to China, but we've seen this a lot in video games, aka H1Z1. China says, no, we don't like this thing. You change the entire way your game works, or how something plays, or how something works. And I'm glad that these guys that are developing Plague said, what the hell are we going to do? That's the whole promise. That's the whole premise of the game. Like, what are we going to do? Just delete the entire game? I mean, that's not what you want. So, and by the way, this game has been out since 2014. It's not like this game was made as a mockery 2 weeks ago. This game's been out for freaking 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you ban a Call of Duty every time somebody goes and shoots up a school or a mall.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't, because it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. I mean,
yeah, but that's how they deal with it in places like China, though. I mean,
well, which every time we talk about China in video games, this is what you need to think about. So when you're thinking about Tencent and some of the things that they're doing, and their stakes in companies like Epic and Activision and Blizzard, this is what you're talking about. Oh, there's a huge virus outbreak in our country. The solution is to ban a game, ban a game from the App Store.
And there's a lot of evidence pointing that virus outbreak was created by either the government or some sort of industry in China. So, I mean, rather than getting mad and saying, all right, well, you can't talk about it, which is their usual solution for things like this. How about they stop playing with chemical weapons and viruses and trying to figure out better ways to kill people? That's my opinion anyways.
Hot takes.
I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but quit trying to come up with better ways to kill people.
Rule breaking doorknob says, well, they try to ban games with violence habits. Yeah, well, they try. You have people say they're going to, but they don't. I mean, very rarely do you see that happen.
I mean, you could still buy the game Postal, and that came out when
Postal
all these things back in the 90s.
Awesome.
They were having all these postal workers flip out and kill people en masse for some weird reason. And so they made a game called Postal where you just went and killed as many people as possible.
Is one of the greatest games ever. And this is going to sound weird. Peeing in Postal is the greatest thing in the world. It's like the most disgusting thing. And it's like, you're just like, you pee for like 9 minutes. It's so funny. Postal is an awesome game.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if those games like that are still around, the original Grand Theft Auto, I mean, the original Grand Theft Auto and the more recent ones, you just ran around, stole people's cars and killed people and ran people over.
Yeah. Isn't that great? Yeah. The American dream.
And those games, that's one of the top games in the country.
Yeah.
So, we don't have, people say, the US tries to ban things, but they generally let things go. Unlike the Cyberspace Administration of China, which is banning a game, which is just such a simple concept.
Yeah.
I mean, what's horrible? It's just showing you what an outbreak would do.
Yeah. Well,
it's showing what's happening at this moment. Oh, let's ban it. Look what's happening. Real life. Oh, this sucks. China's like, oh, we don't like real life. Let's ban it. Great. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. So as we talk about in the show, we're not talking politics. We're not talking about if you should or shouldn't be afraid. Brian is not a health official. I am not a health official. Listen to the health officials. Don't listen to people that talk on television or on the radio. Listen to people that are actually in charge and have information and make your.
I would recommend they don't follow China's advice to never wash your hands, though. I mean, just
okay, yeah, or China's advice of just ban a video game.
yeah.
So that that interesting stuff out of well, the US and China with coronavirus and the effects. I hope that this tamps down before PAX West. That would suck. It's got me quite.
I mean, we're just going to watch and see if this. The crazy thing is, if they created it, wouldn't you think that it'd be possible for them to figure out a way to kind of cure it? I mean, you created it. You have the information. Like, this would be the perfect test of how do we fix a virus? How do we deal with a virus? You create a virus, but then you can't figure out how to actually eradicate the virus. That's craziness.
Yeah.
So, China, good luck.
Yeah.
They'll just wait for America to cure it. That's fine with me.
All right, Brian. We'll keep the politics to a light here. So interesting to see the effects that's having, and we'll keep you updated on the effects of that. Obviously, GDC, big event for developers all across the world.
Sorry to offend all of our Chinese listeners, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure we're allowed in China. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. So anyways, that's pretty much, I think that's most of our coronavirus news. One thing though is
that's all of our coronavirus news. So this is not a health. Yes. Now, by the way, we could live up to this, Brian, because we are Infection, the survival podcast. Yes. This could be.
I know they'll ban us in China just because of our name here.
We could do a switcheroo. We'd be like, hey guys, for the last 5 years, you've trusted us with video game speculation. We are now medical experts. Tune in. To
we are now coronavirus speculation.
Infection, the Corona podcast. Yes. I mean, this is a very easy marketing flip.
Yeah. Forget zombie games.
Yeah, forget H1Z1. We're talking about actual
IRL.
Yeah. You thought the Z1 virus was bad.
Oh yeah. Wait till this. One thing that Steam actually put out a page with a sale on a bunch of the games that are at PAX East right now. So if you go to store.steampowered.com/sale/PAX, we'll have a link in our show notes as well. But on there is just a big list of games that are at PAX. So if you are interested in any of those, they should be discounted a little bit. And they've got.
Are all of these out? Some of these are upcoming games from the show floor. Like I bet all these are like Cyberhook. Is this game even out? No, it's not. So a lot of these games aren't even out yet, which is great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there anything survival on here?
You can wish list them.
Yeah. Nothing's jumping off as like extreme survival.
Yeah. Go to the very bottom. Speaking simulator.
Oh, jeez. Huh. Oh, there's survivalists here. What is this? Nah, that's an indie adventure game. Okay. Well,
take a look at Speaking Simulator at the very bottom.
Where? All the way down?
It's the last one.
No, it's
not. Yours is different order.
Well, I mean, sorry, I clicked your link.
Oh, there, it's on the right. You just passed it. Scroll down a little bit more.
Speaking
right there.
Simulator.
Speaking
okay. That kind of looks like you.
I don't like this. You have to learn how to. It's kind of like that surgeon one. You have to kind of learn how to move your tongue, and you have to do all this stupid stuff just to talk.
What the hell is this game? This game is called Emily is Away Heart. Is a brand new game set in an old school social media. Customize your face Nook profile, send some friend requests, and determine the outcome of your senior year. This game is a Facebook simulator?
Yes.
What the hell is in the background is Windows? What the hell is this?
Soonish is the wish list, is the date too. What they need to have
explore Facebook, and it's them just clicking refresh.
What they need to have is Yahoo Messenger, and as soon as you sign up, all these old men start messaging you, asking you for pictures.
Chris Hansen simulator.
How long can you go before you beat Chris Hansen? That's the game.
That would be a good game. I bet you he'd be all in for that. He's all in on the new media thing with YouTube. The Chris Hansen survival game. Oh, why don't you have a seat right over there and have some cookies?
Yes. How far can you push the limits? ASL, yeah.
Yeah, before how far?
Before
just
you get caught.
It's called Predators. It's a new game backed by Infection Survival Studios, coming to Epic Games exclusive in 2021.
No, I can imagine that being a game that eventually gets banned.
Predators? No. I mean, if that gets banned, there's so much garbage on Steam. Yeah, so some stuff interesting to see. One of the early events of the year in terms of video game news is PAX East, and it's nice to see a bunch of new games coming out over there, and that event is still going on with all of the stuff that we just talked about. So PAX East going on right now. Check it out. Obviously, lots of news coming out of that, like IGN and everybody is there doing their reporting, as they so-called say. So make sure you check them out.
So there's a video. I figure we could play it, but it goes through and really discusses the whole concept of whether ping effects having a high ping is an advantage. You know, in some games, you have a high ping and other players aren't able to kill you, and you're running around. I mean, I've had this happen. But Battle Nonsense, who's made a lot of the videos, kind of showing lag and various things about a lot of the titles that come out that supposedly ping is really important. He did a video here kind of talking about whether or not high ping is an advantage. Is that a hoax? And is low system latency an advantage? So it's about a 9-minute video. You cool with that?
Yeah, we'll play a little bit of it. If it gets a little drawn out, we'll go ahead and swing away. So this is Battle Nonsense. We'll check it out, and we'll discuss right after this.
Hi, my name is Chris, and this is Battle Nonsense. Today I have something special for you, and big shout out to Nvidia for sponsoring this video and their interest in today's topic, which is a quite sensitive one.
Sponsoring the video.
Is it possible for a player to gain an unfair advantage by playing with a very high ping? The answer to this question is quite complex and depends on the decisions the developer made when it comes to how a game deals with delays and how hits get registered. This is why the answer that I will provide in today's video is specific to PUBG and might not apply to many, if any other game out there. To answer the same question for another game, I would have to test that game specifically, so please do not apply what you will learn in today's video to any other game than PUBG. Now, since this is a very complex topic that frequently sparks very heated discussions, I knew that I had to make sure that my explanation is as simple and easy to understand as possible. This is why you won't hear me talk about the tick rate, update rates, and server processing delays today. Nevertheless, you might still have to watch this video several times and maybe even sleep over what I'm about to show you to fully understand how shots register in PUBG, how that affects your online experience, as well as what can and what cannot be used to gain an advantage. So to find out if you can use a high ping to gain an advantage in PUBG, I placed two PCs side by side and then recorded my tests at 250 FPS with the camera. That allows me to show you the perspectives of both the player with the low as well as the player with the high ping without any video editing. To increase the ping of player 2, I again used the Soft Perfect Connection Emulator, a quite expensive tool which is also used by developers and network engineers to simulate various network conditions to test applications and services during development. So that is a professional tool capable of simulating real network conditions. In the following examples, I've increased the ping of player 2 by 500 milliseconds to make the impact that this has on the hit registration as obvious as I possibly can. However, I did also run tests at 150 milliseconds as well as 250 milliseconds, so be assured that what I'm about to show you is not specific to playing at a ping of 516 milliseconds. So the popular opinion is that a player gains an unfair advantage from playing at a high ping because he can run around the corner and kill you before you can even see him. So at a ping of 516 milliseconds, player 2 does indeed see player 1 first, and so he can open fire before he shows up on the monitor of player 1. But how does this delay affect the hit registration? In this example, player 1 fires first. After 8 milliseconds, his shot reaches the server, and the server then sends a data packet to player 2 to tell him that he is dead. While that information travels to player 2, he also fires a shot at player 1. But the server then just ignores that shot, as player 2 was already dead when it arrived at the server. In the next example, player 2 shoots first, but because of his ping of 516 milliseconds, that shot needs 258 milliseconds to reach that server. While that damage is traveling to the server, player 1 now fires at player 2, and 8 milliseconds later that shot arrives at the server, which now sends a data packet to player 2 informing him that he got killed. When the shot from player 2 then finally arrives at the server, it gets ignored, because player 2 is already dead as far as the authoritative server is concerned. So the server simply doesn't care about the fact that player 2 shot first. When it comes to damage, then the player who gets his shot to the server first wins the gunfight. It's really as simple as that in PUBG. Now let's have a look at a different example. So what happened here? Player 2 comes around the corner, sees player 1 and almost instantly starts to fire. 2 shots were enough to kill player 1, and these 2 shots are on their way to the server before player 2 even shows up on the monitor of player 1. Now player 2 shows up on the monitor of player 1, while the 2 shots of player 2 still haven't even reached the server. But player 1 doesn't manage to fire back at player 2 fast enough, as player 2 did not only open fire almost instantly when player 1 showed up on his monitor, it also only took 2 shots to kill player 1. So player 1 loses this gunfight. Now let's take a look at this. This time it took player 2 a little bit longer to open fire. This gives player 1 enough time to fire back at player 2, and thanks to the low ping of just 16 milliseconds, as well as the fact that player 1 only needs 2 shots to kill player 2, he wins that engagement and player 2 dies. So these tests show us that the server doesn't care about which player shot first. It only cares about who gets his shots to the server first. Let's take a look at this graph to explain that further. The ping of the attacker, the player who comes around the corner first, is completely irrelevant, because as you've seen, the server doesn't care about who shot first. So what matters for the attacker is the time between identifying an enemy and killing that player. For the defender, on the other hand, it is essential to play at the lowest ping possible, because the higher his ping, the longer the delay between him and the server. So if time A is shorter than time D, then the attacker wins the engagement. And if time D is shorter than time A, then the defender wins that engagement.
All right, I think we'll stop it there, Brian. I think we got the general gist of it. So we don't need to rehash it. We just listen to it. But so there is an advantage in terms of what you see if you have a high ping. But I didn't really learn anything. It's pretty much still comes down to reaction time. If you have a very quick reaction time, you're likely going to win the gunfight, even with somebody.
But I mean, the ping does come down into effect. I mean, as far as visually, people get pissed off because they're like, I shot them first. Well, that ping rate.
Yeah.
If you have super high ping, even though you shot and you thought you killed them, the server's going to be like, nope, I got a response before this guy, from someone else.
Yeah. So that's actually good for it. Shows that PUBG actually has some decent netcode, because they're not, you could see in the situation in which the server is, as it should be, the server is the authoritative source on what your status is in the game, your health, your position, everything. It's taking the first packet it receives, even if the client on the other end has already,
which in a way kind of balances out the whole thing, because
it does.
It's if you have a high ping, sure, you saw them, but that shot actually takes longer to get to the server. So it gives the person with the short ping enough time to possibly get off shots and get that to the server first. So, I mean, there are edge cases when they're close enough that one may come out above the other. But I think that whole concept kind of balances out, the extreme high ping. There's a disadvantage because of how long it takes for the server to get the answer, right? Versus the short ping. Sure, you don't see them yet, but the second you do, if you kill them quickly, you have a higher chance of your shot being registered on the server first.
Now, what it seems like to me, Brian, is the advantage is actually to the person who has a better connection, because it seems like the only advantage for the higher ping player is if you are instant with your shot. If you never hesitate, having a high ping is probably the better. If you hesitate even a little bit, from the examples that we saw, having the lowest ping possible is the best.
Yeah.
So I would say for the average player,
probably
having a low ping, which is I think what we already knew, having the lowest ping possible is the best.
Yeah,
I don't think that changed.
I think
in very specific situations, could having a sky high ping actually be beneficial.
And I think, someone in chat is mentioning about pre-firing and things like that. This would be, this is kind of a case for that.
That's why Phantom always kills us in Tarkov.
Yeah, pre-fire the corners.
Yeah, it's great. Until you
because if you can just register the shot first, you're set.
Yeah, exactly. So having a higher ping in that situation is probably good.
Yeah.
But the situation,
you have to be willing just to shoot at a moment's notice. Like, don't hesitate
and you have to hope that the person on the other end is somebody like me that's going to hesitate a little bit with my shot
to try to get a better shot in.
Yeah, exactly. So interesting video from Battle Nonsense. The link to the full video will be in the show notes. There's about 4 minutes left on it. I don't want to steal all of his content. And by the way, we weren't getting paid by NVIDIA to do the video anyway. I mean, Jesus, must be nice.
But yeah, if you're interested, we'll have a link to the full video. So if you want to go check that out, you're more than welcome to click the link in the show notes and go go see what else he has to say.
And our friend Head Neophyte says, I've always got the highest percentage of friendly fire. I mean, that's a good statistic.
He's the
winner. So yeah, check out Battle Nonsense.
Need to have a Steam,
like an award.
Yeah, whatever. What's the things that they give
Trophies?
you? Yeah, something you could put on your page. Highest friendly fire. Yeah,
awards, certificates,
top
ribbons,
5% of yes,
condolences.
Top 5%.
That's not condolences.
Top 5% of friendly fire on the game.
Yeah. Percentile.
Mm-hmm. You gotta win
there's also
something.
There's also an article here, another article about PUBG. PUBG has been dealing with increased DDoS attacks and performance issues. So I guess PUBG is falling victim to some sort of distributed denial of service. There doesn't seem to be there's not any talk of a group that has claimed ownership of the attack, but PUBG has come out and officially said, we are testing various DDoS defense solutions from external infrastructure providers. Server locations were often located far away from standard locations, which resulted in increased ping and other network issues for some players. Additionally, many players have suffered a constant packet loss due to the experimental DDoS defense. Because what you're dealing with when you're dealing with if you're trying to mitigate a DDoS, you're dropping a lot of packets. And you can be dropping good That's why DDoS protection is so expensive, and why Cloudflare, which I don't agree with what they do on the business side, but technology side, why services like that are so expensive, because it is incredibly complicated. And in a real-time application, I don't know how you mitigate DDoSs in a video game. You don't have the overhead or the time to determine if a packet is a good packet or a bad packet. You just got to let it through.
Well, I mean, what you almost have to do, if they want to pay me for this advice, they can later. What you'd almost have to do is you could turn around and during the authentication process of authenticating the client, they register the IP that you're coming from at that time when you're logging in and saying, are you a valid client? Figuring out what Steam account you are, checking your IP at that time, and then having some sort of a physical firewall that's blocking all traffic except for those authenticated clients. And then if you see one that's doing malicious traffic, then you could, cut them out at the physical firewall layer, which you'd have to have a pretty good firewall, data center level firewall doing this. And you could cut it out for the most part, because, if you look at data centers, you have someone like GoDaddy or one of the major providers. When they get DDoS, they generally, you don't see people DDoSing and taking down every single, they don't take down every single GoDaddy account. Yeah. They have to just be smarter with how they're having the connections accepted, because right now everybody can probably ping some server that this is being played on. Their servers, you could probably ping them. If they're really serious about this, they need to have it to where when you are authenticating the game, it's then whitelisting that IP for a period of time to be able to connect to the server and play the game.
Yeah,
and that would be one way to kind of mitigate it.
Yeah, probably. Obviously, here's the problem with that. It's very expensive. Head Neophyte says a good hardware-based firewall with deep packet inspection. You're talking about a very, very heavy investment across every single data center and multiple units, failover units. It's not realistic.
The reason that I didn't suggest one with a deep packet inspection is because they could still get that to stop responding, because
that's the whole
it's
point.
Sitting there, it's trying to process. That's why you do one that's purely whitelist, that doesn't even think. It doesn't think at all. All you're doing is whitelisting IPs, and those ones are able to come through. It doesn't look at the packets whatsoever, because the second you start looking at packets and then you have a billion packets come in, your router, your firewall then chokes up. And
now, to be fair, though, your solution is very easily bypassed with probably running something that would authenticate you to the PUBG servers.
But then you'd be able to see what accounts, like if it's a Steam account authenticating, you know what I'm saying? You'd be able to start banning and dealing with it, because they'd have to authenticate to at least a Steam account or something, and then you could just ban them you could have Steam ban them.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have something to approach and do. Right now, there's no authentication needed. Any random IP can sit there and smash them.
So they're working on some DDoS mitigation. I'm not an expert in DDoS, but I've got a pretty strong understanding of how that works with the.
Well, back when I did the Hangout Canopy, we had to deal with this, because you'd have weird a lot of kids, script kiddies sitting. Oh, we could take down your service. So I actually had to deal a lot and figured out the best ways to block a DDoS attack, and successfully was able to block DDoS accounts using physical hardware and physical firewalls.
What did you use hardware wise?
I used the data center's firewall, and I started blocking out everything other than certain, like I only opened up the very few ports that we needed for that. First of all, because usually on the DDoS attacks, they're hitting random ports. They're hitting all the ports, just all over your server. So one thing that really did it was limiting it to only the couple ports that were needed for Hangout Canopy were able to get through that firewall. That cut down. We had people that were just as tests for us, ran DDoSes on us, and they were unable to take down our service doing that.
That's great. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. They could do it. They just,
it's a lot.
The right way.
Yeah, and part of the struggle with this is going to be they are just renting servers all across the world, and
you'd have to get it with a data center they'd have to get it at the data center level to work with them, and that adds cost. And that's
and also you can't just have one of these devices. I mean, you're talking about having second or maybe tertiary backups for these very, very expensive firewalls, so that if a firewall fails, your entire data center for a region is offline. I mean, you're talking about single point of failure. That's a disaster in the making. It's not realistic. So hopefully they can find some software ways to do it, or something else to authenticate to stop that. Because while mitigating a DDoS attack is a very serious thing, and is a very expensive thing, and
it's not easy.
And you might not, and sometimes you can't do it.
Yeah,
I mean, there's sites that
and it's the type of attacks. I mean, there's a lot of ways. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of ways to take down websites, take down services.
Yeah,
with someone who just is willing to try.
Yeah, or purchase a service online, which there are plenty of. Now, you're probably not taking down PUBG with some bot service. You're probably talking about some sort of botnet, but nevertheless.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they deal with this, and if they do something that if they do something well, it'd be something that probably would be pursued by other game companies as well, trying to deal with it in the same way. Because PUBG, they're running it on Unreal, who knows, they got a pretty big player base, so for them it's worth putting the time in and figuring out how to fix this so they don't lose their spot. Because if they have performance issues and just people, the playability of the game goes down a significant amount, people will move on. There's lots of other games we've talked about this week, number of weeks. There's lots of battle royale games that people can move on to the performance, and people will. Yeah, that's the issue. They got to do everything they can to make it a smooth experience. So they're gonna have to deal with this pretty quickly.
Yes, and I'm sure they will. They've, as you said, they've got the resources to do that. So there's networking 101 with Brian and Nick. Hopefully, you'll tune in next week for our podcast. Let's transition over to H1Z1, which, by the way, I've got to give props to Massively OP, who still calls it H1Z1.
Yeah.
Props to them. The title here is Daybreak expands H1Z1's latest season for a few more days. It's not called H1Z1 anymore. It's called Z1 Battle Royale. So the season extension is what they're doing right now. It's going to run through Wednesday, March 4th, which is a couple of extra days over the launch, or over when it was supposed to be. That's season 6, and they say that they are a recent spike in popularity. It doesn't really say what the reason is. They're
Can't really say. There's kind of a guess that it might be because of the recent split up of the sub studios and just, some stuff going on that it might have caused a little bit of delay.
So maybe the new items in the next season 7, I'm not sure what it's going to be, but you've got until March 4th, 2 days from now, if you are chomping at the bit to get whatever swag from this season. It's not like you've had 8 months to do it. So there you go. H1Z1 news.
I figure I had to put it on there because it's the only H1Z1 news since November. So
brutal.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk really quick. Speaking about numbers and things, Epic responded to an article. So this article, you could tell there's a little bit of opinion mixed in with this, with the person writing this, which I understand. But I figure we could just kind of lay it out there and people can make up their own minds because people are on different sides of the fence about Epic Games. But they said that so Super Data goes through and pulls statistics, and they did an article speaking about the kind of downturn in things from Fortnite, like the number of players, their revenue. Yeah. And Epic Games said that they accused Super Data of inaccurate information, and the main reason is because Epic doesn't release any of this information. They're saying, you're saying all these things that you're quoting as facts about Fortnite, but they don't share their public revenue numbers. They don't share their connection number. They don't share any of this data. So they're like, well, how can you be accurate? How do you know? How do you're claiming this? And they're saying that that Epic is saying it's not accurate. But here's where the kind of snide remarks of the person writing the article says, but last month they praised Super Data for something that they said about the game. Okay, well, I don't care about that. Because before they said, here's the article, here's the tweet from Tim Sweeney, who is a person, not the official actual, spokesperson for the company. This is him on his personal Twitter.
True, but it is Tim Sweeney Epic, to be fair.
Yeah, but he says Super Data reported that Epic reached 70% of PC users in its first full year versus Steam reaching 37% in year 16, or in year 16 years.
In 16 years or so. Yeah.
Yeah. Not a bad start in my opinion. So that's just
that's not really praising Super Data. It's just using a number.
He's just saying, according to them, we've reached 70% of PC users in the first full year. They've reached 37% in the 16 years.
Well, it seems pretty clear to me. If Epic really cares about all this, then they need to just release their own numbers. No?
Yeah. If they feel like it's inaccurate,
it seems pretty clear to me.
Prove they're inaccurate.
Yeah.
Because, to Super Data's defense, here's what they're claiming. They said, they say that Super Data is saying that because of their methods and the things that they do, they are pretty confident that their numbers are fairly accurate. They're saying we don't just make these things up. We have a proven methodology and validation process, and they're standing behind their reported numbers. So it's kind of hard to say. If Epic really cared, release the numbers, release the actual numbers if you feel like it's truly inaccurate.
Yeah, no,
So
agreed.
that's why I say there's two sides. I mean, either side, both sides of this company, Super Data needs to be willing to say, you know what, we could be wrong because we don't have the actual numbers in front of us, unless we are there. Maybe they have an insider that they're trying to not leak the fact that they have access to these numbers that they're not supposed to have. That could be a thing, or they could be wrong. I mean, we don't know which one of those is true.
What does appear to be true, though, is the fact that, of course, Epic's numbers are going to be down from November of 2017. I mean, this game hit the highest peak of peakness ever. Like, this game hit unprecedented territory for ever. Like, the amount of success that this game had has never been matched. So, am I supposed to be surprised that it's a quote unquote fall from grace? Of course not. They're never going to stay at that high. It's unrealistic. Yeah. They peaked, and their player count is still 10 or 100 times anything else. It's not even close. So this doesn't seem like that much of a it doesn't seem like that much of a hit piece as much of just a, hey, this is what happens over time. Player numbers go down. It's not the end of the world.
Well, and I mean, they're looking at, like, on console, they're the number 7 game on console. You know, I mean, so FIFA, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Dragon Ball Z, this as far as top grossing. Grand Theft Auto 5, NBA 2K20, Madden NFL 20, and then Fortnite. So, that's for being this far along, as you said, however many years it's been out. This
2
is
years,
still pretty good numbers.
They're incredible numbers. They're still unprecedented numbers. It's just a lot lower than it was 2 years ago. So, So interesting article. You can read the full over at dsogaming.com, Dark Side of Gaming. There will be a link in our show notes on our website, infectionpodcast.com. We're about an hour in here, Brian. Do we have a game to give away?
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to pull it up. So let's go on to the next one, and then after the next.
Topic. While you do that, let's talk about CSGO for a minute as we continue the survival news trend here on the program. We had a new all-time record high on Counter-Strike.
Yeah, we kind of lied because we said that we wouldn't talk about any coronavirus stuff, but this will end up being a little bit of information.
It will. So the all-time peak, which by the way is, moonlighting my segment a little bit, but that's fine. So you can see the all-time peak. This was on Saturday. Was 916,996, and that's the all-time high since mid 2012 when this game first came out. So 8 years ish, 7.5 since this game's been out, and all of that is thanks to what Massively Overpowered is calling massive spikes in viewership in players thanks to quarantine.
Yes.
So they're making the argument that since people are not traveling, not going to certain events because of not wanting to do that, they're still staying in the loop with video games.
Go ahead. But there was some sort of an event that was supposed to happen, an esport event that got quarantined, and so everybody ended up watching it online, and it spiked their viewership numbers. And so it's not necessarily that more people are watching CSGO than before. It's the fact that people that were going to go to this esports event then decided that they ended up watching it online, and it spiked them above their usual 1 million kind of, I'm not sure what the exact previous record was, but it went over 1 million this time.
For what? The viewer count? Yeah. The viewer count was just over 1 million. And then that player count for the game is 916,000.
Yep.
So, interesting.
So it's interesting. There's a lot of people watching it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this changes this sort of industry over the next year. We've already talked about the coronavirus and how it's affecting the various conventions and things like that. But then you also have these video game competitions where you have a lot of people from a lot of these countries that are affected all coming to one place to meet. This is another similar problem that people are going to have to figure out. Like, are we going to see a big, huge downtrend in people that have to fly to another country for conventions or for mass meetings? Like, I think a lot of it will come down to a virus like this. Are we able to contain it? Does it keep spreading? Like, hopefully it's something that will 6 months from now will be like, oh, that was interesting, and it's kind of done. But this could really affect, if they can't seem to contain it, I think this could really affect these type of events. So,
Agreed.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. And I just figured, there was the initial, oh, hey, CSGO, that's good. It's becoming more popular. Well, no, but there's a kind of an underlying story that people, I think, were seeing.
Yeah. What I find fascinating about that is that 8 years later, the game can hit its all-time peak. This is not a new game by any stretch of the imagination. Now, it is recently free to play. So I'm sure that has something to do with it. But I don't know. You don't normally see that. 8 years after the game's been out, it's going to hit its all-time player peak. I mean, I guess The Witcher did it, but
yeah, but that was more based on an event. I mean, that's
true.
What are the normal viewer counts? I mean, I'm
not talking about the viewer count. I'm talking about the player count, because it also hit the max player count too.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, what's their usual, like, before this?
I mean, it was close, probably. I mean, looking at the chart here, I mean, it looks like there's not really a scale. It's higher, but it's not like it doesn't
dramatically spike.
It didn't go from 400,000 to 900,000. It probably went from 8 something to 916 or high sevens, which is still 100,000 new players. I mean, where do these people come from? It's still a big player jump, but you just wonder.
They've done an amazing job of maintaining on that game.
They have,
just keeping people playing, and same thing with Dota. I mean, there's just League of Legends. Those games somehow managed to keep people playing like crazy, and good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing.
PH says 924,000 was the previous peak.
Well, that's the current. That's probably the highest peak. It was probably broken again after this.
But maybe the concurrent viewer peak or something.
But yeah,
I'm not sure what you're talking about. All right, so you ready for this game giveaway?
Yes, sir.
All right, so this will be ! giveaway in chat, and if you could enter that with 60 cans, I'm going to be giving away a copy of Kingdom Newlands, and this is a pixel graphic strategy survival indie game. It's 2D, and so looks like a lot of fun. It's got very positive reviews. About $15 right now on Steam. So if you're interested in that, it's a game where it says Kingdom Newlands builds upon the award-winning gameplay and mystery of Kingdom by introducing an abundance of new content for this title, while maintaining the simplicity and depth of the legions of monarchs have come to experience and enjoy. So it looks like a fun game. If you're into that kind of game, I would definitely check it out, and we'll give it away here before the end of the show.
Yes, sir. Hopefully you'll join us live. And if you're not here live, I know we're doing it on a different day. Make sure you're following us on Twitter @InfectionCast and in our Discord. The link for that is on our website, infectionpodcast.com, so you can get up-to-date news on things like this, a change of a show day. Let's take there's not really a whole lot to talk about here, but there's a survival game that we have talked about recently called Withstand Survival. It's not out yet, but there was a good article over at PC Games N, which kind of talks about making it in Unreal. It's more of a game developer article.
Blog.
So I'm not going to read it just because it isn't super relevant. But if you're more into the video game development side of things, you should check this out. It was a good article. I read through it. Have
we showed the trailer for this?
Yes, we have. I'm positive.
So I have the trailer link. I'll put it in the show notes just so we have it for a record. But
yep. And I've been chatting with the developer, and as they get closer to something, as they get closer to launching, or they have a little bit more that they can talk about. They're looking to come on the program, or at least recording something for the program. So we'll keep you up to date with that. But yeah, interesting article over there. The link will be in the show notes. And if you're kind of interested in hearing a little bit about Unreal and what the development process is like, it's a good read. It's not all that long. And by the way, it does say article contains promoted content in association with Unreal Engine. So there was a little bit of
I mean, but it's an interesting. They have a lot of screenshots. So if you're interested in the game, they do talk about some of the things that may interest you as a purchaser.
So you can check that out on our show notes, infectionpodcast.com. We showed a trailer for this game probably 5 or 6 weeks ago. It's called Grounded. Yeah. It's a Bugs, kind of like it looks like Bugs Life, the game.
Or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes. Well. It looks like it's like a combination of those two. It's actually being published by Xbox, and I don't know if it's one of their first party studios developing it, Obsidian Entertainment, but I guess they are at PAX. So let's show the trailer, and then we'll show a little bit of gameplay over that. So this is Grounded. It is a survival game, and it's kind of an interesting take on the typical kind of loot shoot survival.
Yeah.
Kind of. There we go. Yeah, I won't be playing this game. I don't
do spiders.
Yeah, I don't do spiders. So, people in the chat saying, "Oh, it's gonna be, this will be fun for an hour." This seems to me, Brian, a game like The Forest, where it's got, you play it for a little bit. You don't devote your life to a game like The Forest. At least most people don't. This kind of reminds me of that. This seems like a game that it's fun to maybe play for a weekend. With some friends or solo. It's probably not going to have a super in-depth story. It's not showing itself as that. While we're talking about it, I'm going to play a little bit of gameplay in the background here. This is from PAX East. So this just came out from there, and we'll scrub through this, and you can see what goes on here. So there does appear to be a tutorial system, which is cool. Not something you always see in a unfinished early access survival game. So it does appear to have that right off the bat. There's some sort of crafting system. I mean, what do you say, Brian? I mean, this doesn't appear to be an earth-shattering groundbreaking game, but it's probably got a place in the market, no?
Yeah, and I think a lot of this, it's an interesting concept. I think it really catches people's imaginations.
Yeah.
And so I think that is going to be its kind of draw, is it's something real enough, but kind of a cool concept that, I think they could throw a lot of little Easter eggs and just cool things that you run into and do, like the bugs. You're fighting these giant bugs that, you take for granted as a normal sized person. I don't know. Yeah. I think it could be really cool and interesting.
Yeah.
It depends on how they pull it off.
Like, what kind of normal sized human would be terrified of like a spider or something, like a total moron,
I know. Yeah.
right?
What kind of normal human would be? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're not screaming and trying to burn your house down because you see a spider.
Mhm.
It's you wouldn't be doing that. It does kind of, as I said, it brings me back to my childhood with Bugs Life. That was a very popular movie. There was a couple Bugs Life movies. I don't know if you know about those, Brian.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of got that vibe. Again, I see this like I see The Forest. Maybe you play it once every couple months for a weekend, and that's it.
I mean, it really depends on how they scale it, though, as well. It really depends on how much extra stuff. I mean, is this going to be where you're building a base and just kind of surviving, or is one thing Ark has done and some of these other games have done is kind of creating all the extra stuff that goes on beyond the first 20 hours you play the game? Like, are they able to come up with enough content and things to do to where the game keeps changing? And that's just watching this, you won't be able to know that. Yeah. But hopefully, I mean, if it is cool, like, it would definitely be a fun game to play. I think if they came up with enough stuff to where we built a base and we gathered a bunch of stuff now, and it's not a now what situation, but they have something else you're going for.
They did do a panel on this on Saturday, so you can catch the VOD for that. There isn't anything on here about the price yet, so it's not sure we're not really sure what the price will be. I would hope we're looking at $29.99 max. I don't know if it'll probably be $39. I don't think that will be good, though. What are your thoughts on price point?
Yeah, I mean, if it's over $30, I can't imagine it selling very well. This is Obsidian, so it is a decent sized studio. If I remember correctly, I think I heard it was Obsidian. But if it's not something that holds a lot, doesn't have a ton of content, or as far as time, like I was saying before, then it's not going to be really worth paying a high amount of money. With Ark, you can kind of justify it because there's thousands of hours worth of entertainment there. If they don't have a ton of entertainment, then lower the price to match kind of what you're delivering. Yeah,
agreed. So it does have that forest style building where you place the silhouette of the object and then
picks them up.
Yeah, and then you bring the resources over and complete it. So, I mean, it looks interesting. I mean, I don't know. You should know right away by looking at this. This is either a game I'm interested in or a game I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be a game that's going to win you over. This is either something you want to play or it's something you don't. I hate to be so blunt about it, but that's just kind of what it is.
For me, it comes down to how well they implemented all these mechanics.
Yeah, agreed. And it does appear to have now the Steam page just says it's single player with online co-op. So don't expect it to be, this is not going to be an MMO. This is probably you and maybe three other people.
It's more like what you said, the forest, where this is how the forest was.
Yeah, it does. It kind of does. It does feel like the forest in terms of that. Now, it doesn't look like the forest, but it sure has got a forest vibe in terms of the building and the co-opness of it.
The kind of online co-op where you don't have a true dedicated server, and who knows if that'll ever change.
Yep.
There's only so much they can do. I mean, the things that keep a lot of these other games alive are having the big online servers where there's 100 people on a map.
Yes.
Possibly.
So this is something to add to your wish list on Steam. There'll be a link on our website, which is infectionpodcast.com, where you can throw this on your wish list. And I don't know. Hopefully, maybe these guys will be out at PAX West. That'd be kind of neat. We didn't have any new survival games at PAX West last year, I don't think. New.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Even this game would be cool to see, even though it's not a zombie survival. It would have been cool to see. So there's Grounded. Go ahead and check it out, the trailer and the PAX gameplay.
All right. There was a patch, and remember I said last week about how certain studios were not posting their patch notes in a place. They were actually posting them just on their Discord server in the channel. And I complained and I said I wish they wouldn't do that. Well, all of a sudden we now have Extinction, Jaws of Extinction, posting them in a Google Docs. So that
why? Don't they have a website?
I don't know.
They do.
I don't know. I bet. Yeah, I guess they're not posting it to the blog or whatever. So they posted it into a Google Doc spreadsheet, and so you can jump on there and view them all.
Yeah. So This is alpha version 0.2.22.1a. And a couple of things that they're working on here is partial gamepad support. So using a gamepad to control the character, which is the Xbox gamepad controller. This will extend further in the next update to include UI controls as well. It's got what their KBAG is the acronym that they're using. Key binding at a glance prompts automatically adjust depending on your input device. So it'll automatically change your bindings, which is pretty cool. Couple of things with reduced stamina, remove floating leaves created by characters walking on the forest floor. Harvesting stone by hand is increased by 10x in terms of its gather rate. Footwear now determines walk angle and having a grip value. Barefoot being the worst, obviously, as you don't have any grip on that. For the NPCs, they introduced huntable deer NPCs, which is kind of neat. And the deer have returned using the AI v3, which is their version 3 of their AI system. A couple things here. New improved deer meshes and materials may spawn in a variety of sizes depending on age. So it won't just be one static animal. They may spawn as either a doe or a stag. And new improvement to the movement and animation system on that. A couple new sound effects. Ooh, I'm excited for that. And they're now harvestable. So if you stand near a dead deer and press F to pay respects, you'll interact and harvest the meat from the deer that has been killed. Once skinned, the deer becomes visually skinned and gutted. The deer are very receptive to disturbances and will flee quickly if spooked. Let's see. Deer will flee if they see another deer being killed. So they won't just be hanging around for that. And they'll just be grazing in large parts of the wilderness. Item-wise, they did some bounces for loot drops. So the infected, which are the kind of the zombies, can now drop different types of ammo, food, high amounts of bucks, which is the in-game currency, various resources such as feathers, alcohol, etc. And then they just did a bunch of other loot balances on that. For the environmental, here we go, Brian. This is good. New pathway and radio tower added to the map. So, I mean, we are going to take that other game by storm that I can't remember the name of right now, but we're also going to take Jaws of Extinction, which I have said nothing negative about ever. Ever. We are gonna take this to new highs too and get infection in this game. New cliff faces, improved hillsides and thinning out of foliage. New house models for 2 styles of houses. Still only 2 styles. Kind of disappointing on that. New pathway that leads to a marshland trader. Let's see. New cliff faces again. New waterfall locations placed at the marshland crossing. Still need scene dressing, so that's not completely done yet. Re-enabled shadows on grass now, and the density has been lowered. Added additional bird nest locations around the map that you can loot and find things in. Added a new interactable garage door around the world, so that's you can open that up and check out garages. Removed door pausing, open, close animations. This is a huge issue when we played, was opening and closing the doors, so that was a huge problem. Both maple saplings and pine saplings are now harvestable. Added a single interior to 2 house variations. More will come in the future. And they moved the car accident scene as well. Some performance fixes, including implementation of corpse for the deer, improved the performance for dead NPCs, optimized all signposts around the world, removed unnecessary static meshes from across the world, optimized additional houses, reduced draws, threads, calls, and anchor counts. So that's all for performance there. And optimized ground clutter, as well as about 24 or so bug fixes. So pretty big update from Jaws of Extinction. This seems to, updates like this are going to be the right direction for them. This is a good QOL update. Fixing a lot of the issues.
And optimizations for them was one of the things that we noticed most. Getting it to where it performs well, it's going to make a huge difference with this game. I mean, they need to get to where you have decent frame rates, and especially going towards getting online, multiplayer. Like, you need to get it to where it's optimized, and then, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into it, but you want to make sure, because there's a thing called replication in game development, where that's what is determined, what is sent to the server and what other people see. If you just throw everything into the world and you don't pay attention to these things, you're just going to lag out, like we ran into with the forest. I mean, you remember with the forest, that was one of our biggest complaints. You had over 15 people, 10 people connected, and it would lag everybody out. I mean, it was using 100 megabit connections up.
Oh, that was miscreated.
So they're miscreated. It was
forest
just
was
killing
bad too.
So the forest was really bad. I remember when we got in as a small group and started trying to play, but that was bad, and it was just using a local connection. The miscreated was using dedicated servers and maxing out their bandwidth because it was so poorly optimized. So it's important for them to go through and really get that nailed down before they allow people to start playing together, or else you're just going to be running into the exact same issue that miscreated had.
Yes, and that can be as we've seen, a killer.
Yeah, I mean, the people will look at your game and be like, all right, that's it, no more.
Yeah, that can be an issue. So that's Jaws of Extinction. At this point, my recommendation is still the same, which it was before. I would say at this point, buying it is probably not the best move. Just because you won't play it now. It's not really at a point where you can play with friends. And if you are playing solo, the experience is pretty lackluster. So something to add to your wish list, something to keep an eye out for. And we'll continue to keep an eye on it as well and bring you updates as they become available. We've got lots of new survival games that we've been talking about and getting updates from. Here's another one, Dead Side, which is another, they're reading it right off their Steam description, a hardcore multiplayer shooter with survival elements, post-apocalyptic, big open world, real weapons, transport, craft, construction. The game is being developed by using the Unreal Engine. It's going to be early access in late 2020, and we've got some screenshots here, Brian, of what appear to be the big open world that we were just teased with. So if we want to go through a couple of these, I'm just getting them all open here. And we'll just kind of cycle through these here. So for audio listeners, you have to go to our website and check them out. Does anything in these screenshots jump out to you as super unique and or interesting?
So okay, I'll say the good. Let's just go with the good that I see out of it initially. And this is going to be the thing that's going to be important. This is performance, just like we were talking about with Jaws of Extinction. One of the biggest things we ran into with a bunch of objects and things being in the world where it looks very full and real. You run into things being very laggy or slow, bad performance. One thing that they have done that, as long as the performance is good, I think it looks really good, is they put a decent amount of like ground clutter objects to make it look like it's not bare, to make it look like it's aged. There's some sort of a post-apocalyptic environment. You can see there's piles of rocks and just buildings that are kind of crumbled. I think they did a really good job of that. The lighting looks good. It looks a lot to me like Scum did when it originally released. Scum downgraded their graphics quite a bit, but if you remember when Scum first came out, like it had really good, the scenes looked really good. In game it looked good. And then now you go in and it looks all blurry and not as good, which is kind of strange. But I think with this, they've done a really good job with level design. It looks good. My question would be performance. As long as they can keep a decent level of performance while having it look like this, then I think it's very promising. Because usually you have to cut down and take a lot of stuff out when you're trying to hit certain performance levels.
This is a big screenshot dump. This isn't like half a dozen hand-picked pictures. There's probably 30 or 40 pictures here. I tried opening them all up and it started freaking out my computer. So I'm opening them like a dozen at a time. I mean, it does look pretty good.
I mean, visually, I think it'll come down to mechanics. It's hard to see from screenshots how the mechanics work, but visually, I like the look of it. I think it has a nice age to it, and I think they did a good job in making it look nice and kind of the environment looks right.
Let me say this: we are in early March, right here. This game is not expected to be out on early access until later this year. These screenshots are from February, maybe January, depending on when these were taken. They've got 6 I mean, depending on how you stretch this, they could have 9 months more time before they even release the first version of early access.
Yeah.
So that's what I find that's what I find most encouraging about these screenshots, is that there already does appear to be a great amount of work done. And now they've got, I mean, look at this picture. Look at all the elements are here. You're looting inside of a box. There's an inventory system. You can see the gun on the guy's back. That stuff's already done.
Yeah.
So now they've got 9 months to make the game better. It's not like it's not like right now the game is a bunch of just, meshes in the world with no doors that interact or anything like that. A lot of that seems to be there, which is good.
Yeah.
It's very encouraging, because we've seen games that have released at this state. Jaws of Extinction's a great example.
Yeah.
Based on these screenshots, that's the state that Jaws of Extinction released at. This game's got another 6 to 8 months of development before they release. And they may delay the release. They may say, hey, it's not ready. We're going to release it Q1 of 2021.
They've got all the important basics there, the base mechanics, and they'll continue doing level design, I'm sure, but also polishing all the mechanics. I like where they're at for how far they are away from actual, open beta.
Yeah. So that's great. This is
PH
another
says
game.
it feels asset flippy, but it depends on how well they do. I don't mind seeing things that are similar to, like, the inventory system is, it's not like some crazy inventory system. It looks like a normal inventory system. But I don't see anything here that looks like it's directly ripped out of the marketplace. They've done a lot of customization, even if they're using some things from the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, they've been working on this game for some period of time. We've shown screenshots and have talked about this game since late last year. So if it was just a true asset flip, then this is taking a very, there's dev blogs going back to July. With this. So if this is
the thing for me is the mechanics and the net code and all that stuff is the most important to me. And so because you can always redo a map. It's harder to go in and redo all the net code and try to fix the game. I'd be less concerned about the map. I'd be more concerned about the mechanics and how it plays. Agreed.
This is not their first game. We've talked about these guys. They've got a couple of VR games. So they're not. This is not some fly by night Russian. This is not one of these Russian studios that pops up, pays the $200 Steam fee, and just puts the game on there. They've developed games and DLCs already, which is good.
So it'll be good.
Yes, sir. Something to add to your wish list. It's called Deadside. The link will be in our show notes. InfectionPodcast.com.
All right. So No Man's Sky, remember they had put out in the last couple weeks or last week the Living Ship patch. Now they put out an update for that 2.32, and mainly it's just a bunch of fixes and things from that bigger patch that they put out. They put out a big content patch with some new things, and now here's all the fixes to follow it up. I'm not going to go through them all because it's pretty much just saying fix this, fix that. No new real content or major changes.
Gotcha. So, well, there it is. 2.32. Check it out. Good.
Yeah. So ROE, they actually did a pretty big thing here. And there's on their page, there's some pretty interesting screenshots because they went through and really worked on the lighting. And if you could play one of the first video, it's showing the lighting, how they changed it. They're doing kind of an ambient lighting where you can see it makes it look much more realistic. So you can see before, when you open a door, it would do a shadow from the door, but it didn't really do the kind of glow that you get when you open a door, and kind of the light that is then reflected from the things it's hitting. And they've put that in there, and it does a much better job. I think it makes it look much more realistic.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job of doing that. So that was one of the changes that they did. They also have been doing some changes to weather, which I know, always gets you excited.
Hot and bothered, yeah.
Yeah. So they did dynamic lighting with weather. So when the lights change, you can kind of see it does the same thing with the lighting to kind of give it that realistic look. So yeah, that's just one thing. They also added a new map called Vera. So on this, it's located on the east side of the Andes Mountains. Originally, mineral resources were the mainstay of the economy. And they've got some backstory for this. And then there was some radioactive fallout in the area, blah, blah, blah. Go through it for a new map. So if you're interested in that, they've got a new map. They've also extended their season 7 to April 9th. So if you haven't had a chance to go through and play and get all your rewards in there, it's kind of an odd theme seems to be happening with a couple of different ones. And who knows, I don't know if it has to do with the coronavirus or what the main reasons are, but they are delaying the release of the next season. They've added 4 versus 4 team deathmatch mode in this season 8 that they're going to be doing. And they have some new login rewards for spring. They have adventure tier boosts that you can get, just some new things they've added. So if you're playing ROE, you're more welcome to check that out. But I thought the lighting was pretty cool. It shows and these guys, I think, do their own engine, or, it's not Unreal. It's not one of the main engines. So when they go through and redo light, like they have to write it into the engine. They're not just enabling something and tweaking settings. They actually have to write it in and make it. So they've done that.
Very cool. ROE's a fun game. Just hasn't really hooked me like some others.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun, but it just doesn't draw you into be like, oh, I want to play, again and again. So
fact. So the big elephant in the room, and we didn't open the show with it just because we spent so much time talking about it last week, and because they flubbed the launch of Genesis, our news is like 7 days old, so it's not. It's I wouldn't call it breaking news anymore. It did end up coming out. It came out about 2:30, 3 o'clock Eastern time Wednesday morning. Was it supposed to be out at 5? No, it's supposed to be out at 7. So they ended up delaying it. At first they said like, 2-3 hours, and they just kept pushing along. I think 3 a.m. was the first time PC and Xbox servers were able to get the download. And I did mention that I would talk to my coworker the next day, Brian. And when he came in, I could tell when he came in, I looked in his eyes, and I said, "Hey man, how was Genesis?" These mother effers, every single time they released DLC, I stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning waiting for this goddamn DLC to drop. And I feel like I was listening to myself, which was rather interesting. And we talked a little bit about it on last week's show. This is a video game. So let's put this in perspective. This is not life or death. This is not a life-changing thing. Your life is not altered by this. But you say you're going to release something at 7 o'clock. People do things to prepare for that.
Yeah.
And it's not that people's lives are ruined, but it's kind of a slap in the face, Brian, if it's nothing else, is you said, hey, I'm going to do something different with my day on Tuesday so that at 6:45, I'll be absolved of all of my responsibilities to play this game. And then they don't release it until 3 o'clock in the morning. And our buddy Gadlaw on YouTube is saying it's a first world problem. I get it's a first world problem. But there's something about treating people's... You're screwing with people's time.
Yeah.
And time
Some of us have a very limited amount of time. Like
and that's
I have
part
very little time to actually play video games lately.
Well, and that's kind of part of it. And obviously this wasn't... I don't think this was done intentionally by any stretch of the imagination. And as PH says, you think that, and that's part of it too, is that they have experience. This is not some fly-by-night operation. This is Studio Wildcard. Ark has been in development for over 4 years, and every single time they have released any piece of DLC, it has been delayed. Every single time. That's the part that I think really pisses people off. Because you would think after 1, 2, 3, 4, a whole nother game, the 7th or 8th DLC, and a release of a game called Atlas, you'd be able to release something on time. And they weren't. and they weren't. And again, you're people. You say we're going to release it at 7 o'clock. People prepare for that, and that's what pissed my buddy off. Him and his girlfriend got all their shit done so that when 7 o'clock rolled around, they'd be able to download the thing and then play Ark all night. And then it didn't come out till 3 o'clock in the morning. So he stayed up till 2 o'clock and didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah.
That's just frustrating. You've been there with you and I've been there with Call of Duty. It's frustrating. You get the game.
Yeah.
You go out at midnight. I drove out at 11:40 at night to go get the game. I got home. I put it in my PlayStation. I installed the update. And then for 3.5 hours, I tried to log into the server. It wasn't until almost 4 a.m. that we got in. It's frustrating. It makes you feel like your time's not worth anything to these people, and that's frustrating.
One odd thing, too, is they don't release the trailer until supposedly minutes before the release. But, like, people are like, just release the trailer. Like, okay, you're going to be delayed. Just release the stupid trailer. Like, for some reason, they don't really... It's not like they don't have the trailer ready. So, I don't know if you want to play the trailer really quick. Yeah. We couldn't play this last week, even though it was hours before it was supposed to be, or at the moment that the show started, it was supposed to be released, if I remember correctly.
It was, correct.
And they still never had the trailer out during our whole show. So yeah, let's go ahead and play that, and you kind of see a little bit if you haven't played Genesis or seen any videos of what it's about.
Yes, and this is this does say this is the first part. Genesis is a 2-part expansion. So here's the first part trailer.
Hello, I'm Ylands, a fractal personality designed to be your guide. Just listen to me and you won't get yourself killed. Probably. I'm new at this too.
All right, so I'll tell you what, Brian. Ark does a hell of a job with their trailers. I mean, their trailers are always awesome. They really are. Have you played this yet? Because I know you haven't. And we're burning a server, by the way, that is pretty popular. We've got like 10 or 15 people playing at any given time, which is cool.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of randoms coming and playing.
Hey, yeah, Discord's filling up with people, which I love. Yeah. I think it was last night or Saturday night. There was 5 people in the Arc channel, 4 people in the Tarkov channel. That was awesome.
Yep. I mean,
was
almost
super,
every
super
single one of
cool.
our servers has people on it right now.
That's freaking
We
great.
probably have like almost 20 people across our Arc servers right now.
That's
online.
fantastic. That's always been our goal, is to get people to, like, we have this server that we spent.
What's funny is that they're not on just on Genesis. Like,
no, they're all over.
They're coming in.
place.
I think they're coming in because they see that we have 7 servers now.
Yeah,
all
the
linked.
cluster.
Yeah, we have a cluster that's working, and we have Genesis. We have all the main maps on there, and there's a decent amount on Genesis, but there's a lot of playing the other servers as well. So,
and we've got
it's good for the economy overall.
We've got a banging server admin, Brian, keeping it up to date, even though there's some controversy about mods and whatnot going on.
Yeah, I keep having people ask me to add mods, more mods, and it's just like, all right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think we'll be keeping the number of mods where they're at right now.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, PH says, Brian, did you install the mod yet? Thanks.
No rush, but can you hurry up?
Yeah.
Brian's over here dying of the coronavirus, and he's getting on his death. Somebody's death wish will be, Brian, did you install that? Did you install that?
So I did install one mod that was requested, or 2 mods that were requested by a user, and then like we started having all these connection issues, and it really broke a couple of the servers. So then I removed them, but then people were storing something that was in a mod, and so then I flew around and was giving them back items that they lost because I removed the mod. So I'm just no more of that.
No more. Brian's got a day job.
I like minimal adminning.
Yeah, Brian's full-time job is not Arc server administrator; it's developer and programmer.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of updates here. I don't know if you want to go through them all. I do want to look at Genesis itself from the what's the word I'm looking for? From the I'm stumbling here. The reviews. That's what I was looking for. There is, I thought, what was a really solid review here, right when it came out, and it's long. I'm not going to read through all of it. I flew around solo to scout out some good build spots, only to find out that most of the map is in what is called a mission area, and you're not able to build there. And it says, these are my initial thoughts of, with a couple of hours of exploring. The biomes are tiny, and the barrier walls separating them make them feel even smaller. Also, there is a very low ceiling, making it impossible to fly. There is no flying due to the low ceiling. So I
want to make another comment too, which he's talking about. These biomes are tiny. The barrier walls separating them make them feel even smaller. There's each of the biomes. You can't just fly from place to place.
Correct.
Like before.
You have to use the thing.
You go up to the wall, and then you have to talk to the HLNA, and then it ports you to kind of like, it's like Atlas in a way, as far as migrating. Yeah. But you have to manually go up to the edge and say, I want to move over. But these biomes they're big, but for Arc, they're not that big. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like I was just moving around and I'm instantly hitting a wall. And it's like, oh, this is kind of frustrating. Like, I can't just go from place to place. I have to go up to an edge and then port over to the next place and then move around there and then port over to the next place. Kind of weird.
Yeah, edging. You never want to be doing that. So there's no tech armor abilities. So pretty much just the tech helmet is the only thing that's in there, which tech tier is like if you're anybody in Arc, you have tech tier. Like, that's kind of the thing. That's the general progression of the game.
One thing Arc's been adding is commands to be able to enable these on the server, which is kind of one reason to lay off the mods and things like we were talking about before. Yeah. Arc is Studio Wildcard is starting to add in variables. Say, okay, we'll allow building on the mission areas. We'll allow building on, or allow tech tier. We'll allow flying. It's all variables, so that I don't have to. You just got to give. What we need to do is give mods a week or so to at least fix their mods and update them before, because there's going to be weird issues when you're using a mod that was not made for the changes that have been all of a sudden put in here.
Yeah. By the way, we will be giving away a copy of Genesis next week on the program. We were going to do it this week, but since we changed the day of the show, we didn't want to do that. So next week we have a copy of Genesis we'll be giving away. So if you're on the fence for it and want to wait a week, you'll have the opportunity to win one here live on the program next week. One of the things here was what you just talked about, Brian, the HLN4, which is the little doodad flying guy. He also notes in this that you're unable to talk to that guy, the HN guy, when you're mounted.
HLN4,
yeah, HLN4. You have to be off mount, which is obviously frustrating if you're walking on a dinosaur or something. You have to jump off the mount to talk to the guy to move areas.
And then what it does is it kind of brings like a graphic around you, like a transport graphic, and then everything in the area. So I ran the problem. I wanted to go to the other zone. I was actually in Falcon's boat. I used the boat to get to the edge, but then I wanted to port to the next one, but I couldn't because it would have taken my boat with his boat with me. It's just, it's kind of frustrating. So it's like I had to then take his boat, move it far enough away, and then you have to swim to the edge. It was just silly.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to read through this whole review. I mean, you can go read the review yourself. What I do want to point out is right now, Brian, on Steam, there are about 1,300 reviews for Genesis. 38% of those are positive, which is not good. That lands it under the Steam recent reviews of mostly negative. Now, it's got about 2,000 reviews, and it's about 50-50 on that. But I will note something here, Brian. This game reached its all-time peak player count on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we'll do current players here in a little bit. If people hate it so much, they're playing. Damn straight they're playing, because this game hit its all-time peak players March 1st, 2020. So this is what has always kind of irked me about reviews, is people will leave a shit review on a game and say, oh, this is awful. It's this, it's that. Yet they're playing it. Somebody's playing it.
Yeah.
They hit their all-time peak yesterday. Again, a game that's been out for 5 years. So you say, you're going to leave it such a bad, and I'm not attacking people that leave reviews, but clearly somebody's, if they're not enjoying it, they're sure as hell playing it. So they're one and the same.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm going to say, not about the reviews, but remember a couple weeks ago, I was complaining about Ark not having a story and not having missions and not having, this pretty much is adding all of that.
It is.
I mean, it's got missions,
like that.
But they say they don't like that. That's the problem, is right now people like to leave. So here, I'm going to read one of the top reviews.
Sure.
It says Ark itself is a game I totally recommend. If you like taming, raising, and fighting creatures, survival, exploration, online or solo play, an open world, tons of cool maps, different biomes, optional story that you can uncover with pieces, which is not really real, but together on your own, the Ark is the game for you. All of those things are why I asked for a refund on my Genesis season pass. Genesis introduced the online mission game and an Ark skin slapped over it. I was expecting a cool new map with never before seen biomes and creatures to tame. It was pitched as being a huge ocean world. What we get is a simulation where you can teleport between biomes whenever you want, which is my complaint. You can complete missions and buy survival and loot crate options with the hexagons that you get from the missions. Yep, you do missions, you get game currency, you buy items. He says it completely breaks the survival mechanic. It's entirely different from the game that you've been playing. Further, the download is huge.
Like every other Ark DLC is huge. That's a terrible. That's a terrible point. Every Ark DLC has been 40 gigabytes. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, and so I mean that's his thing. I don't necessarily totally agree with him. I think there are still survival aspects, but now you have the ability through doing missions to purchase resources and various things. But the biggest thing for me is having the biomes to where it's such a pain to transport between them. That's my biggest complaint. I wish they could have made it to where it was, even if it's kind of seamlessly took you from zone to zone. It is a big map. I'll give them that, but it feels much smaller when you have to go to the edge of it. It feels like a bunch of small maps put together, which is frustrating.
Yeah. And then some of the positive reviews on the flip side, Brian, it's different from normal Ark. If Ark had a story mode, this would be it. People are crying because they're used to doing caves and lots of PvP. This is not a PvP map. It's story-based. So now this goes back to the old adage that we always talk about, Brian. Did the developers mislead what this DLC was supposed to be, or did
they didn't talk anything about it? I mean,
or did the well, they did, but they did release.
There was minimal information.
They released 9 of those videos though, and those really only showed off new creatures and abilities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would make the argument that it's always two parties at fault, because the people always assume, well, it's just like every other Arc DLC. They never said definitively what this was or wasn't going to be per se. I think they probably could have done a little bit of a better job explaining it, but I don't think they misled the public by any stretch of the imagination. All the new creatures that are in there are in there. The biggest complaint that I've seen so far, and they're addressing this complaint tomorrow, is that 3/4 of the map you can't build on because they're mission areas, and because those are instanced missions, you can't. You remember what happened in H1Z1 when people could build wherever the hell they wanted? They just block every single city off. You couldn't get into anything. It was a mess. So tomorrow they are releasing a limited amount of new variation Genesis servers. These servers will have building in the mission, no build areas, no missions, flyers enabled, and full tech.
It'll be more like the other maps.
It'll be Arc just on a new map. So they're getting, so they have already bent the knee a day in, or less than a week in to the mass hysteria. Because again, people are playing it. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
This is not the general consensus. I don't think. Maybe I'm off base. I talked to my colleague today, and he said he played it all weekend and really enjoyed it. He said it when he first started playing on Wednesday, he was a little, like, a little sour taste in the mouth because he stayed up until 2 a.m. waiting for it to come out. But once he got into it, he said he really enjoyed it, and he played it all weekend and had a good time.
Yep.
So doesn't this kind of defeat the entire purpose? This limited variation servers that are getting rid of all of the mechanics.
Let people.
What do you pay? You're paying $40 for a small map?
Another map, yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more of a minority, though, of these people that are freaking out about that. I think people will learn to appreciate the fact that there's something else to do other than run around in PvP. I mean, this gives you quests and mini games and all kinds of stuff that you can do if you're interested in playing Arc, because you should be burnt out by Arc at this point. I mean, if you've been playing it for years, there's lots of people that are interested in doing something different. So, I'm going to read over the patch notes here really quick.
Okay, sure.
They put out a number of patches since release. So these are all post-Genesis. So 306.53, building is now enabled in mission areas by default on unofficial servers. No longer need to use the editing the ini file. To disable building in mission areas, you now can add a thing to one of the game.ini files. Unofficials can now use flying creatures by adding the following setting to your game user settings.ini. So, you don't need a mod. You just need to change a setting. 306.63, they reduced the high quality tier loot drop rate for missions by approximately 40% because they're finding it was delivering too nice of items or too many nice items. They changed the ocean platforms to be blueprints only in mission rewards, so to prevent people from demolishing the rewards for materials. They increased damage to insect swarms by the frogs, the beetle buffos, by 2.5%. They increased, so pretty much they went and increased and reduced a lot of the damage of various things. So after that's pretty much fixes. Then we got 306.67. They set the Capro race to use teleport out of bounds functionality. Fixed the space whale's display name. The cruise missile now has a 2.55 second arming period, so arming duration before it can do its nuke explosion. If cruise missile is destroyed or detonated before then, it now does a harmless explosion. Reduce tech claw damage against structures. Players fixed player emote specifically to for a certain language, fixed certain languages from not finding appropriate directories, and basketball mission rewards now match their intended reward returns. 306.74, they fixed a critical crash. They removed mission requirements for additional players when entering the final boss with a player who has the requirements. 306.75 fixed a bug where Pelas and Itchies would fly to XYZ coordinates 0, 0, and 0. So pretty much the center of the map. Fixed a bug where players could attack each other with the mining drill. Fixed a bug where items may have received an unintended item cap. Items and item and creature transfers have been enabled outside of Genesis. Temporarily, I had actually disabled them originally, but it looks like it wouldn't have worked anyways. I've given our servers the ability to transfer items in and out now that it's been out for a little bit.
Nice.
Temporarily added tech replicators to the loot crates until they can be better placed on the map. Then 306.79, which came out today, they added a setting to enable or disable tech suits in Genesis, which I'll have to decide if we want to do that. And you can always contact us if you have any input. Game.ini, they added the ability to enable or disable Genesis missions. And then they temporarily reduced affinity needed to tame Bloodstalkers until further tweaks can be made. So they also said they're investigating ways to bring these configuration options to consoles in a future update. And that gets us current.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Brian. What I'd like to, and I know we've got a number of people that are playing Genesis in our group. If you would, over the next week, if you would just send me a little message on Discord, I'd just be curious what your general opinion is. You don't need to write a book, but if I'm just curious what you think. Do you agree with the Steam reviews, which are mostly negative, or 50-50 at best, or is this great? I mean, we've got people playing it, so again, if it's so awful and terrible, good work, Studio Wildcard, because you've just hit your max player count forever. So that's super cool.
Yep.
Speaking of survival games, Brian, I have to read an article. I don't have to read an article. I have to read a part of an article that I caught last night when I was I was either playing on Reddit or Twitter, and I scrolled through this. And here was the headline. Originally, I thought it was clickbait, but it turns out it wasn't. It says, Bethesda was surprised how uninterested players were in Fallout 76's PvP. And I thought, oh, this can't be accurate. So Pete Hines, who is a senior vice president of global marketing and communications, told the gaming blog US Gamer, I think that we were a little surprised how few people wanted to take part in PvP and how many more were interested in PvE.
Yeah.
What?
We said this day one.
Every Fallout's been PvE. How the hell are you surprised? How is this guy this guy needs to be fired. How are you the senior vice president of global marketing communications? You don't even know what your player base. Have you never played any of the games?
They're like,
there's never been a PvP. Sure. There's never been PvP.
The thing is, they're probably looking at Rust and they're like, oh, Rust is popular. I'm sure, let's mix that in with Fallout and everybody's going to want to play that, right? No, they're two different player bases. People that play Rust aren't looking to play Fallout generally. People that play Fallout aren't looking to play Rust. They can be, but generally you have a separation usually.
I disagree with you. They do like playing Rust, and they do like playing Fallout, but they like playing them for two completely different reasons, and that's it. Fallout's always been known for its NPC stories and the glitchy nonsense in the game. That's what Fallout's always been known for, and they tried creating this weird MMO RPG hybrid thing, and it's been a disaster. And then years later, to have a senior vice president of marketing and communications make a statement like that is unfathomable. How could you say that? There's some folks who do, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a smaller percentage of the player base than we thought.
Yeah,
Based on what? What did they do? Where did they gather this information? Clearly, they just pulled it out of their ass because there would have been nothing to. Oh, okay, yeah, as we know, that's always a good indication of things. I don't know what in the past could have led to them coming up with this conclusion that this was a sure success. This is insane. I'm not going to read any more of it because I'm not going to give Fallout 76 any more time. But
I mean, the thing that they really could have done is just make a co-op Fallout. If they would have made a co-op, because the problem is they came into it with the conception that, and the misconception that PvP would be interesting in this game. No, people, I think what would have been more interesting would have been a co-op Fallout where people could play together and work through the story and missions and have it be a Fallout with, let's say, 4 players. That would have been interesting. And I think they would have had a much more interesting player base that would have actually played it.
Well, and going on what you said, part of the issues that part of the reason people weren't interested in PvP, part of the reason people weren't interested in Fallout 76 is not just because of the PvP. It's that because there was hardly any PvE. There was
the things
no
that interested
NPC
people
story.
to Fallout was missing, totally
Bingo.
missing.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's not necessarily that people were anti-PvP. It's that you stripped Fallout out of Fallout, and then went, oh, this is insane. We didn't realize the percentages were so low. Yeah. They removed all of the Fallout features of Fallout, and they just slapped the name on it.
They should just call it Rusty Fallout. Like it was pretty much that's, they released a different game. Don't label it as Fallout because it wasn't a Fallout game.
Yeah, it was a
PvP. Yeah, it was just like a test.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
Agreed. So that was kind of an eye opener. And shout out to US Gamer for getting this guy to make such an insane statement. You can read the full article over there.
They put out a patch, and they don't really mention it here, but I was reading some other places. Actually, here they mentioned at the top here, releasing a small update from Fallout 76 in order to make some behind-the-scene preparations for the upcoming Wastelander update, and that's the one that's going to actually add NPCs and make it feel more like Fallout.
That comes out in April.
Imagine that. Yeah, so
but it's too little, too late.
Yeah, they should have
go play Outer Worlds or something else.
Yeah, and I've been playing that. Not a bad game.
Good.
It feels more like Fallout than this does, from what I've seen. They've pretty much, there were stability fixes, adjustments to graphics things. They've been reworking, like for instance, floors, the correct issue that caused basic floor objects to consume more camp budget than intended. Same thing with lights, add an alternative version of the oval holiday string lights that can mount on walls. I don't know how this is really preparing for the new update other than stability things. I think they were trying to just put in their current fixes that they've done up to this point into live before they then did the big content patch they're going to do. I think that was more of what the preparation was, is let's get all our fixes out, have it that where our new version is then being on the stable version. So
there you go. Fallout 76.
Yeah.
What else we got, Brian? I think that about covers it.
We have 2 things of some Overwatch news. So if you're interested in that, they have their Mardi Gras challenge that they're doing right now.
Heyo. And
so you can pretty much what you get is unlockable in-game content. You can get, so you play quick play, competitive play, or arcade, and you earn theme sprays, player icons, new epic skin. Also, they have it to where you can tune into Twitch broadcasters, and you can earn skins from being in their Twitch streams. They've also added hero pools, and this is being added for season 21 of competitive play, much like map pools. Rather than having all heroes available for play at all times, a weekly changing list of heroes will be available. So they're trying that out. Also, they're doing experimental changes and 1-3-2 triple damage rule set. So they've added a new card labeled experimental within the play menu where Overwatch players can try new balance updates, rule sets, and game modes. So if you're interested in that. And then they did a lot of tweaks to various characters and to the game. So you can check that out. And then on the 26th, they released another update, which was pretty much just 2 bug fixes from the previous updates. So then I think that pretty much takes care of everything.
All right. with that being the case, let's transition over to everybody's favorite segment of the show, and that is current players. So we talk about the number of people that are currently playing specific games, and let's take a look. We mentioned ARK earlier, so here it is. Currently playing 70,724. By the way, this game normally hovers around 35, 40,000 current players, maybe 45. The 24-hour peak, 122,319. And the 7-day peak, again, reached yesterday, March 1st, 153,947 players. So for the awful, terrible update that Genesis is, a whole hell of a lot of people are playing the game. So props to ARK on that. Let's take a look at Rust. Currently playing at 35,962. The 24-hour peak, 52,158, with a 7-day peak of 72,570. And let's take a look at DayZ, everybody's favorite. Currently playing 10,987. The 24-hour peak, 21,609, with a 7-day peak of 27,357. And wrapping us up here, everybody's favorite shooter, PUBG, 89,195. The 24-hour peak, just over 532,317. And the 7-day peak, not bad, 567,147. And that is it for current players and all of the numbers and doohickeys and thingamabobbers that are playing games. So
Very good. All right,
Yes,
well,
sir.
let's go and roll into tip of the week, and that's where I either give a general gaming tip or one for a specific game. And I figured I would do this one pretty much talking about ARK Genesis. So this is tip of the week. All right. So one thing that you'll notice, the first thing that you probably will notice when you launch into ARK Genesis is the HLN4. Currently, it's out all the time. And there's an option in the settings that you can do to hide the HLN4 so that you don't have to have it out and talking to you all the time and in your visuals. So if you go in there, you can set to hide it, and then you can use your emote menu to call the HLN4 when you want to access it and to transport between map zones and things like that between the different biomes. One benefit you're going to find in there, and we mentioned it a little bit earlier, is you have the ability to exchange hexagons. And this is the currency that you get from doing various missions. And once you do those, you can purchase resources or loot crates in the game. So it's an added feature. Of course, there's some controversy behind that.
feature
another
you say.
thing, yeah. And there's another thing as far as a recommendation. People pretty much recommend that you start out in the ocean biome. One reason that you would do that is it has the lowest number of threats, because in this game we'll find there's a lot going on, a lot of threats. It's kind of difficult to get your foothold, but if you start in the ocean biome, generally it'll kind of get you started to where you'll then have the ability to at least get some basic gear and get started, and then move on to the more difficult biomes from there. So that is tip of the week.
Alrighty. Thank you very much for that, Brian. Appreciate that. And if you are interested in joining us on our ARK server, you can join our Discord. The link for that is on our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. And we have a channel in there called ARK. And the pinned message is a link to the battlemetric.com website where you can see all 7. Now, there are a couple servers on there that also have the name Infection on them. But you'll see our servers. They're listed blank, X of 7, depending on the server number, Infection Podcast. And we've got a handful of people playing on Ragnarok right now. We've got people playing on Genesis, and active group of people on those servers. And all of those are 10X with S+, and a couple of other mods depending on the server. So if you're looking for something, if you're looking for a server in which you can progress at a rapid rate to actually check out the in-game items and the progression of a game, which we've always found to be the big issue with ARK, our servers are a good way to do that. If you were going to play for a couple days, our servers are pretty good, I would say. That 10X is very convenient for that.
Yes, definitely. All right, are we ready to do this game giveaway?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's go ahead and draw our winner. And congratulations, Head Neophyte.
Heyo.
You have won. So I will give you a link. I'll send to you in Discord. So congratulations, and hopefully you enjoy it. And if you find anyone who ever wins a game, if you find that it's you enjoy it, it's a fun game, please make sure you let us know so we know whether or not to recommend it. So thank you. All right.
Yes,
is
sir.
there anything else we need to cover before we roll on out of here?
No, I think for tip of the week, or excuse me, I think for current players, that is, we'll be around Friday night.
You're saying game of the week? You said tip of the week, and then you said current players. You mean game of the week?
Game of the. It's a Monday. I'm off.
It's all right.
For game of the week, we'll be around. We'll be contributing to the current players as we play game of the week on Friday night. Not sure what we'll do. We'll straw poll the group Friday and see what everybody wants to do. Maybe we'll play some Ark. We'll probably have a couple different groups going. That's what it's been. It's been great. Our Discord has never been more active.
Yeah.
Which is great. Super, super awesome. So, and if you're looking for a place to play a game with some friends, our Discord's a pretty good place to do that.
Yep, definitely.
So, there you go.
Well, if you want to find me, you can check out me on Twitter at Boise Computer. Of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. And as Nick was saying, if you're interested in joining our server on Discord, make sure you go to infectionpodcast.com. On the right-hand side there's a button that says join our server on Discord. You can click that. It's a free app, very easy to use, a lot of great resources there. And you can click that, create your account, and then jump right into our server. If you want to get notifications for the live show, perhaps you're like, oh, it's Tuesday, where's the show? And you realized it was recorded the day before. Well, if you would get notifications, you probably would have had a little pop-up in Steam and knew that we were doing our broadcast today. So you can join our Steam group for that. If you're wanting to watch us live the next time we do a live episode, you can do that through Twitch, Mixer, or YouTube. Of course, we have YouTube videos after the fact. If you want to listen to the audio format, maybe in your car or work or when you're doing something, we have links on the lower right-hand side of the website for doing that. We also have show notes for this episode. So maybe there's some videos that you wanted to go see. We played partial videos for some of them just to give you an idea of what the information was about. If you want to watch the rest of those will be in the show notes. Now, if you're interested in helping support us financially for things like packs that we do, you can go to humble.infectionpodcast.com for humble bundle purchases, amazon.infectionpodcast.com for any Amazon purchasing you might be doing. And then also you can go and support us through Twitch Prime, which is a great way to, if you have Amazon Prime already, just each month go and give your sub to that. And that really helps us up. And over the year adds up enough for us to get our Airbnb, to cover a lot of the travel, as far as the Ubers and things that we have to use while we're on our trip at PAX. So we really appreciate that.
Whoa. Let's see. What did I do here? Uh-oh.
You click a button.
Yeah, I clicked something. I don't know what I did, and it brought up everything full screen. I don't know what I clicked there. Display larger preview of this image. Click the preview to close. Oh, okay. That's what I did. I've never seen that button before. I accidentally clicked it.
Nice.
So, yes. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you doing the show on a Monday. Feeling under the weather. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
And then we will see you Friday, and then we'll be back next Tuesday. Again, we're giving away a copy of Genesis. I think it's just part one, right? It's not the season pass. It's just part one of Genesis.
I think you can only get the season pass, can't you? I don't see a way to purchase.
Oh, okay.
Just
So
One Piece.
Okay. So it's the whole thing then. So,
I would assume it's the season pass,
well, it's either way, it's free.
or it's the only like single version that you can buy.
It's an infection podcast exclusive.
Yeah. If you want just the One Piece, and then you have to buy the season pass later to get part two. I mean, hey, here you go.
Free real estate. So join us for that next week. We'll be giving that away next Tuesday night. So hopefully you'll join us for that. Alrighty, folks, that is going to do it. Again, if you are maybe thinking, oh man, I didn't know you guys were going to be live on a Monday. That sucks. I wish I would have known. Well, I tweeted 2 or 3 times on our Infection Twitter account. It's at InfectionCast on Twitter. And we put a couple of mentions in our Discord. So those are the ways that you can stay connected. And again, we try to give you a heads up on that, but it just always doesn't work out that way. Again, as Brian said, you can visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you next time.